so many developments happening. Technology has moved in, and one of the biggest changes has been digitalization. So transporters who earlier didn't know where their truck was. I mean, I have met fleet owners with 200, 250 trucks. I ask them, where is your truck? Hoga kahin na kahin. So, I mean, but things have changed. We have tracking facilities. We have people using track and trace beyond just tracking their trucks. Now, thankfully, friends, recently the government's focus on this segment has changed. We are looking to become a USD 5 trillion economy. And if that has to happen, logistics has to play a very important role, because eventually these goods have to move from point A to point B. And the latest thing that has come in from the government is the National Logistics Policy, which we're going to be talking about today. So just to give you a very basic of what this policy is, the government is looking to reduce the logistics cost and improve efficiency. These are the two main parameters of the NLP. Now, to tell us a little more about this, I would request Akshyat if you can spill a little more beans on what the NLP is going to be about.
No, I think NLP's got, thanks first of all, and thanks for the introduction to the topic in general. The NLP is, the National Logistics Policy is a mix of a lot of things. It covers stuff from digitization to efficiencies in the supply chain to getting all the players onto one platform. And then, of course, at the core of it sits the land assets and the monetization strategy that the government's trying to achieve, right? Where basically they're trying to monetize the land assets linked with logistics and infrastructure, and then making sure that the market works per capacity. And then that reduces the cost of movements in the supply chain. It also kind of opens up doors for customers to find multiple storage points in their supply chain. Because today, and one of the things we were talking in the lounge waiting for this to start, is the fact that customers tend to hold their cargo or delay the truck, right? Because that becomes, or a container, because that becomes the cheapest form of storage. But there are cheaper ways than that, right? And those are the nodes on the network. So whether around the port area, in the depots, on the logistics parks, or in the warehouses. And I think if you top that up with the data, and I think the previous session was about that AI and telematics and stuff, then the customer has visibility of where the SKUs or pallet sizes are currently resting, and that then allows them to deviate the cargo based on where the demand is coming from, thereby then optimizing and then sub-optimizing the supply chain. Sorry, long answer. But to me, it starts with the government, but it eventually comes down to how each and every customer is then trying to optimize their play in the industry.
Dipti, you've been doing a lot of research on the logistics segment, talking to customers as well. How do you see the NLP, the Gati Shakti, and these programs eventually impacting the logistics sector? What changes do you see coming in?
So, thank you so much. And if you really look at the initiatives, the way the government has rolled out, the PM Gati Shakti has actually laid the foundation for collaboration between the various ministries. There was a time that we as common people have seen infrastructure projects start, taking ages to complete and getting restarted. The brilliant example of that has been that when the Delhi-Bombay highway was getting constructed, that's when the telco industry and the ministry stepped in to say, hey, it's a 1,300 kilometers expressway. Why can't we also lay down our fibers at the same time? Now that collaboration has not only reduced the cost, but it's also bringing in the efficiency of getting it right the first time. And this entire initiative of Gati Shakti is going to change the logistics sector's speed to provide that infrastructure to the sector itself. And a stepping stone on that is the entire NLP, right? It's bringing the ecosystem of all the operators together on a single platform. We have the fleet owners, we have the 3PLs, we have, like Akshyat was saying, bringing the entire modernization of the warehousing together. So it's really setting the base from an infrastructure point of view and really bringing in the NLP on top of it to ease the execution layer, making it really that one vision of, and I would say the vision really would be right from where you can have the visibility of your cargo to the way it is getting transported through a multimodal transportation, and with the ease of moving from one place to the other under a single permit maybe, or absolutely paperless. And I think that's really the vision that the government has set out for, and the benefits are multifold, right? We all know the type of wastages that happen in the transportation industry. Agri, for example, 18% to 20% of the wastage is only because of supply chain. If you can really cut down on those elements and bring it all together, the efficiencies are huge. The visibility will provide the fleets enough optimization and network optimization to know how they can make the best utilization of their fleets and their assets. So to me, it's a great, great head start, I think, where the sector really wants to move. And I think it's a stepping stone with our PM's vision to really make India the most attractive hub from a manufacturing sector perspective, inviting investments. Yeah.
Fun fact for you guys, you'll be very surprised, until a decade ago, if a truck had to move from one state to another or wherever, the truck had to take a permit from every state. So if he's going pan-India, he had to acquire 29 or 30 permits. But since the last 1 decade, the government came out with a national permit where a truck can go across India with just one single piece of paper. So that development has happened. Uttaam, you've been in this space for a long time now. Last 5 years, what are the significant changes that you've seen?
First of all, I'd like to thank India Digital Summit, delegates, audience, and co-panelists. It's not working?
It's working. It's fine.
Hello? It's working? Hello. Yeah. Sorry. It is a privilege to be share the space with expert panel and discussion on logistic policy, national logistic policy. And as Girish is asking about the changes in the last 5 years. In last 5 years, we see the tremendous changes like National Road Permit, you are saying, and GST. GST is the process to structure the unorganized transport sector to the organized way. Because in each and every state, apart from the truck permit, you also need to take the permit of that particular commercial invoices, like UP sale tax, MP sale tax. There is so many sale tax permit is required. And there is so many, what you say, extortion so-called, and so many problems due to stoppage and pilferage of this diesels and so many things. It's increased the TAT period. But after implementation of GST, this all road permit and all thing is vanished. Only a single e-way will help, and with actual practical TAT period on that.
Uttaam, since we are in the digital summit here, tell me, how much has digital payments helped your transport company, your company on the whole?
Digital payment is great support for transport, especially because earlier without digital payment, our manager teams are taking and handling the cash, which is very risky. Sometimes it is also getting looted on the way. But now digital payment is there, so we are safe. We can transfer and UPI and everything. And we also train all our employees, our team, even drivers, that every payment should be digitalized. But as you were aware, in India, we cannot transfer 100% payment to digital right now. Around 80 to 90% we manage.
Akshyat, while road transport has more than 70% of market share, there is the government's focus to shift to railways, waterways, airways. How do you see the multimodal space panning out?
First I'll just start with a joke. We were sitting in Bangalore, my colleagues down there. I remember telling him this, and we asked this guy. And he said, "Ye site bahut achhi hai. The Chennai to Bangalore highway should be ready in 84 days." And I'm like, "Why so specific?" He's like, "I'm just going by the calculations that the minister has offered, right? But that, if anything, is moving in the whole policy very, very quickly. It's roadways, right? So it's actually making the multimodal shift harder. However, the underlying fact is that a lot of companies, especially the global companies in India, as well as some of the large Indian conglomerates, like let's say like Tata, etc., I think the focus on sustainability is very high. They have economies of scale, and there is a willingness to experiment for the future. And that's of course leading to that shift that you're seeing. I think it's happening in a couple of ways. One is of course road to rail, and the first part of that is at least the customers who are in the hinterland or the clients who are deep, far away from between their origin and destination. They're definitely testing it out. But as Maersk, we've seen a few successes. We've managed to shift a lot of short-haul road to rail very, very quickly. So we moved the entire tiles market of Morbi into Mundra onto a rail model. We moved 1,000 containers in a span of a month. So that was big for us. But also cross-border between India, Nepal, India, Bangladesh. We're seeing a lot of shift happen. We've moved a few barges now. Unfortunately, you had high steel prices during COVID, which made access to barges very, very expensive. I think that's now settling down. And then, of course, the economy in Bangladesh took a bit of a spin, right? But I think with the economy now bouncing back, steel prices settling down, you'll start seeing a lot more investment coming into the waterways as well. So I think the road to rail switch will be a little more instant over the next 3 to 4 years. But I think waterways will take another 7 to 12 years, at least for freight. For passengers, of course, it's a different story altogether.
Dipti, what's your sense on the DFC? How do you see that, evolving?
Yeah. So, honestly, on the entire logistics space, if you look at the way the entire sector has evolved, this is going to be the game changer, really. And this is where the transporters, the logistics providers can take a lot of advantage of the entire DSC, that space that the government has really opened up. It's a matter of time of how the implementation will really roll out in the market, and we have to really start seeing the benefits for it. But the frameworks look solid. What we are seeing that the market is going to take an advantage out of it also seems to be tremendous right now.
Uttaam, as a transporter, you've seen a lot of changes, from trucks, you're moving on to the DFC, waterways, and now even alternate fuels. How is your company taking on to this? Are you looking at EVs also for your last mile deliveries?
Girish, right now it's too early to comment on this move from normal fuel to EV, because it will take time, because market did not have any more options for EV commercial vehicles. Yes, we moved to CNG with this, EV vehicles, and also for last mile delivery, you can say, we can use it. And we also shifted around 10 to 20, around 20 vehicles for last mile delivery through EV vehicles. Okay. But EV is not the solution, as per my opinion. Next is the hydro. If the hydro is come to the picture, then it will be changed the complete scenario.
But as a prominent logistics player, what steps do you think you can take to bring down the logistics cost? What is in your hands?
So, if you want to say the bring down the logistic cost, you need to have the set time for loading and unloading from shipper end and consignee end. And that paper document, we say that e-way bill, GST, everything is moving fast. But the documentation time at the shipper end and the consignee end is still delay. Loading and unloading is still delay. Vehicles are detained so much. If vehicle is not detained, so it will reduce the cost. And as you well aware, payments. Transporter payment is like a joke for the industry. It's come at the end priority. But without transportation and without logistics, you are well aware, you can't do anything.
Right. Friends, fun fact for you again, transport industry is the only industry where everything has to be paid in advance. Right from the purchase of a truck to paying the taxes to purchase of fuel, tires, salaries, everything. And the payment comes, Uttaam, 30 days, 90 days,
It's
180 days?
30 days is a joke.
So you can imagine a transporter is not only a transporter, but a financier for the customer as well. Akshyat, how do you see the infrastructure development helping the country on the whole?
Right, but I am compelled to though make one change, at least from my perspective, on the EV part of it. I think the shift will happen much sooner to EV and hydrogen fuels and sustainable fuels, much in advance of your opinion. And sorry, I disagree with. And I think there are a couple of reasons to that, right? I think most of the customers we talk to and most of our partners, they are asking us to start investing for them. Earlier, you only used to get the small trucks. Now you can see trailers from a couple of OEMs coming into that space. But I think to me, what's most important there is decarbonization of the supply chain in terms of the fuel you source for those EVs, right? And I think that shift is also starting to happen, and I know we are looking at it very aggressively. So to me, in 2024, you should see at least, for us, I know it's about 15 to 20% of our entire fleet, but I think for even the other 3PLs in the country, they're all looking at 30, 40% decarbonized transportation as quickly as possible. So it will take time, but it might happen based on private goodwill, right? I just want to...
Yeah, Akshyat, that's why I'm saying it's take time. It's not quickly change. It's take time. Because when option is coming in the market for the commercial vehicles in EV, then we can shift from general fuels.
Right. I think the important factor for this to take the stride which Akshyat was talking about is also going to be the way the infrastructure is going to turn around itself, right? And this will also be a joint custodian of how the very large organizations are going to set it up, right? Because yes, long distance really still needs to be cracked for the Indian market. Sooner or later it will be. But alternate fuel are here, and that can be in the space of hydrogen, green fuel, it can be EVs, and the whole sustainability will pick up. But it has to be an infrastructure investment which is not just going to be the government, but it's also going to be the onus on the private players to pick that up and start driving it. The OEMs are doing their bit, but yeah.
In fact, surprisingly, at the Auto Expo this year, the focus was not on your petrol and diesel vehicles, including trucks. The focus was on CNG, hydrogen, LNG. So, a lot of options there. Actually, a little bit on the fuel part, how do you think this is going to really percolate down to the system?
So I'm not really an expert on the fuel side of things, but what I do know is consciously, conscientiously, we will want to move to more sustainable fuels, either in our consumption, our way of operations, or just a way of doing business, because it's right? And it's right for the environment, it's right for us to buy things that are more sustainable. It's the cup in my hand, it's everything, right? And I think the generational shift is now happening, where even as businesses pass on from the last owner to the new, they are demanding the right kind of fuels for transportation. So it's a matter of time before it becomes a demand. On fuel, though, it's debatable, right? So where we come from, there is a very strict mandate on what kind of fuel you can use. So for example, Maersk does not count CNG or LPG as sustainable fuels, while the Indian government statutory still does that, right? So I think there's a bit of a disconnect there between the norms that are followed in Europe and India. But of course, India has to always go through that cycle before it comes out. And then when the final adoption does happen of the right fuel, it moves very quickly. But I think where you will see the mobile phone level step happen is solar and electric charging, solar and renewable kind of accelerating the EV gameplay in the cities. But then there's the matter of lithium disposal, right? So I think it's a bit of an interesting play. Let's see how it plays out. But eventually we are going to...
It's what's called as a circular economy that has to be cracked up from an automotive energy sector part of it.
Uttaam, you have a fleet of 950 plus trucks, and a huge setup. Yeah. But there are many places where you're competing with, maybe a guy with 2 trucks or 3 trucks.
Yes.
How does this economy fit into place?
As far as trucks is concerned, if you have the good fleets, definitely you will get the economy. But you can't compare and compete with single truck owners, because single truck owners have no expenses. Also the driver owner are same, and the en route expenses also are reduced because he is the owner. So we can't compare with the single owner to. That's why NLP is coming, organized or unorganized sector. They are totally unorganized. They did not have any expense, they did not pay any tax, they did not do and fulfill any compliance. But there is some parts of the customers, some part of the corporates who still prefer the unorganized player because they are giving the cheaper one as compared to organized player.
But do you think with the scrapping policy coming in, the smaller truckers will eventually move out and the industry on the whole will get more organized? Do you think that sense?
Yes, definitely.
I think Akshyat disagrees on that? No. You do?
I don't even disagree.
Dipti, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a matter of how consolidation will happen, right? We are a country where our pyramid is a bit skewed towards the lower end of the population as a strata from an economic well-being. So to say that, is that going to change dramatically? I don't, my personal opinion is that it'll take a very long time.
Yeah,
But they will stay. But they will find a collaborative way to work around it, right? Because one of the things that is starting to change, and I think there is a lot of ecosystem and startups that are getting people onto this whole shared economy. We have the black buck types and all. They don't make money, which is a different thing. But getting in some shape the individual truck owners to become a little more structured in the way they operate, that bit has started.
Yes.
And if very, very large fleet owners start shifting their operating model and their business models, how do we want to get this unorganized sector under your fold? That could change the landscape. But is it going to go away? I think our countries, I mean, again, right, we have a very small percentile of the population that's at top really doing well, and then you have the 1 to 5 truck owners. That's the largest part of any the logistics sector space. So I think it'll stay, but it's about who brings them under their wings structurally first.
In fact, as we were talking back there was a time when transport companies simply changed their name to logistics companies. So they were doing the same job, just the board changed. Akshyat, how do you think the logistics cost, what are the key elements that would bring down the cost? Fuel, of course, is beyond anyone's control, but besides that?
No, great question, right? And I think it's also, that's what the government's also trying to answer as they frame the policy. Fuel, for any move is about, 45% of the move's cost. And I think as the market gets organized over the coming years, the cost will first go up before they come down, because the organized market will pay the drivers better, they will have more benefits. Freight is yet to move to an air-conditioned model, right, where cost will go up. So I think for players like himself, you will first see the cost go up as the market moves organized, and then optimize itself to lower cost. But where you could really benefit from in the long run is the next level of digitization. Today, your e-way is still at a truck or a container level. I think it's yet to move to an SKU pallet level where you can consolidate, deconsolidate, and shift cargo to the right place. So I think that's one change that the government has to push. Second, more storage points which are more optimally on the highways and the rail stations. Third, bringing your road, rail, and all other mode of operations to each other. If you go to Noida, for example, or Dadri, you've got a different place for truck unloading, different place for rail handling, different place for, and that cost of intra-terminal movement alone actually kills the handling to a huge extent. So I think with Gati Shakti coming in, you will see a lot of this optimization start flowing into the customer supply chain.
But do you think there will be a significant shift to multimodal transport from the current trend that we see?
100%, because as you get everything in one place, the cost of, so I'll give you an example. We consolidate a lot of cargo as Maersk from Moradabad out to the world, right? The carpets, the brass, etc. It all comes down first, either goes straight to the port. Every customer has their own supply chain. Once you have a MMLP or a logistics park with everything in one place in Dadri, it's not an option. So it all comes here. Your cost of shifting reduces, your economies of scale of moving it on double stacks on the DFC reduces, and on the DFC point, you've got Dadri getting connected, I think, in a month and a half from now. So that's going to be a big game changer. So I think as then railway then reduces its tariff, you will see the benefits getting passed on. And I think it's a matter of time before they shift their stands there, right? Once the DFC and so over a period of time, or in the next year and a half, in the next 18 to 24 months, you're bound to see cost shifts to the lower side as customers move more to these hubs and way of operating.
Because actually we spoke to a few customers on moving to alternate modes, and their concern was that various handling might lead to damages. Now carpets are fine, but other segments may not feel that comfort. Dipti, how do you think this would change?
That concern is valid, right? Depending on, again, the entire NLP infrastructure on the warehousing, the logistics parts is really going to solve for this whole shift and the mindset shift. It is true today, as we speak, that shifting anything from any other mode apart from road is not a point-to-point sort of. So that's the ease that people are looking at, and then there's this whole space of cost, etc., that you could work out. But I think that's where the NLP comes in really. And I think that's what is the attractive part of it, is that one is the visibility, two, the infrastructure that you're going to create. And, you know, it is very interesting the way Gati Shakti explains it, right? You're not just going to get a landscape of where the infrastructure projects are going to come up, but you're also going to get a landscape of where are the right nodal points that is required connected to your best infrastructure. So if you have a rail and a port and a road interconnected, and how do you then overlay on top of it your entire blueprint of 3PLs and 4PLs on top of it? That is going to change the game. And that, like Akshyat was mentioning, that is where the change of hand is going to be simplified. Today it is not. So that shift is going to happen. Lot of manufacturing organizations want to reduce their logistics cost. It's not just the government trying to say it, but if you look at the P&L of any organization, that's the first thing. But the way they look at the logistic cost is by looking at a comparative and a benchmark pricing on the same route. But that's not the best way to do it, right? The best way is to figure out the right mix of doing it. But then that's where the handling, the infrastructure, those concerns come up. So it's a matter of time, and we should see that shift.
Uttaam, how do you deal with customers who want to, bring down the logistics cost by simply, bring down their cost by simply cutting down the transportation cost? The axe falls first on you. So how do you deal with that?
It's depend upon the customer to customer. If we're willing to continue, so we will do some negotiation. If we don't willing to continue, then okay.
But often do you work below your operating cost as well? Does that happen?
No, it's not happen. It's not possible. If any customer is say you cut down the cost, if you give the any good output like good quantity, then definitely we will think about it. Like I am also doing the freight forwarding in a US transfer logistic. It's in break bulk. Akshyat is agree. If we give the full charter, then it's cheaper than the partial load. It's all about the quantity. If you give the good quantity right. Business with good payment, then definitely we will reduce it.
Uttaam, now, how do you see your company shaping up in the next 5 years with so many changes coming in? You will have the NLP, you will have the infrastructure growing, digitalization will grow. What are your plans?
As far as I have two logistic company. One is our parent company, Transport Wing Scale Private Limited. It is since 1956. It is a domestic transportation company. And second is US Transfer Logistic. This is the freight forwarding company. So as far as changes is concerned, we completely changed our domestic transportation company to the digital one from since COVID. Our LRs, whatever the GRs and LR, if you see, maximum 95 to more than 95% transporters have their paper GRs. We are moved to this digital GRs. And as of now, you can track and trace our vehicles in our website easily. And the next step is our EPOD, which we are doing internal testing. And we try to move the customer to accept the EPOD. Because if EPOD is there, then customer also have saved time to get their acknowledgement, and our payment system also smooth and fast as earlier. So as NLP is concerned and the new initiatives concerned, we are also concerned and discussing with the government officials. We're not able to disclose right now. It is under discussion for being a part of this freight corridor, and have some private discussion to how to reduce the cost. Because as far as in India, if you see, there is only, I think, 1% players who have in-house domestic transportation and in-house international logistics. We are one of them. So we are merging all these things. Apart from that, I also have some companies, other 8 companies I have, for trading company, trading house also, software company also, and this, hospitality also. So we give the one, I meet just 2 days before in G20 meeting in Manipur CM. I also give some suggestion for the increase, to reduce their cost, logistic cost, and increase the ease of logistic. And definitely with this new NLP, this ULIP, I'm looking for the ULIP. Because it's integrate more than approx 30 agencies in one platform. So it is very beneficial to us. Or we are working on the AI, how to merge our AI and how to give access to the customer for customer interference. The customer can book itself the cargo. We can discuss the rates and commercial finalize because long-term contract cannot okay with this clicks. We can finalize, and then after that, each and everything customer have full visibility, full transparency, so they can see and act accordingly.
Dipti, how do you see the future from here on?
So it's not just about the logistics space, right? We are seeing a technology evolve and take over precedent in every sector. But specifically in the case of logistics, I think multiple dimensions are coming together. One, the way the fleets themselves are upgrading themselves on the digital maturity, which is right of some examples that we heard, right? How do you improve my customer front end, right? Which is to say you can book your cargo online to, right, operationalizing your freight from an intra-city or intercity transportation. And the last leg is how do you leverage that entire data for your own benefit as an organization? That's the one part where the fleet or the large organizations are operating. And then there is this entire ecosystem of operations itself is changing. The government is doing the entire ULIP. You have to adopt to that. The vehicles, platforms are changing. You know, we discussed very briefly on EV or hydrogen. How are you going to adopt to that sort of technology changes? And where is the efficiency on that going to come in? And then there is this whole element of infrastructure and ready to digitize even the way we are operating. So there is a huge, Accenture published a research, and globally it was understood that if you market on across all parameters on a scale of 1 to 5, even mature markets are sitting at 3.5. So there is a lot of work to be done, and there is a lot happening at the same time for us. So how much step up can we take there and create value out of it? And again, large organizations will not ask for ROIs, but anything backed with the technology comes back with the question of what are my returns on it. So it's a very, very exciting space for all of us to watch out for. There's a lot that is happening on the track and trace, the visibility part of it. The government is doing a lot, which will force the organizations to take some steps. But it's an interesting space to see that maturity and the efficiency as we move ahead. And we've not even touched upon things which have not yet got spoken about, like blockchain, where going forward contracts will be all interstitched. I'm very excited to see the space when a connected vehicle to a connected contract gets executed from one country to the other or one city to the other seamlessly. Right, and everything being paperless. I think that's the vision that we should all hold on for the sector.
Akshyat, your closing remarks on the future.
On the future? No, you hit upon Trade Lens, which was a platform we had which does or did it exactly the same thing, right? But other than for low adoption. I think the future is very interesting. I think most of the people in the panel will agree that if it comes to digitization or sustainability, it's a tick. We have to go ahead and move ahead with the times, if not for our sake, then for the sake of the next generation. And I think most of the supply chain people continue to experiment more than before. And I think COVID has taught us whether a lesson or an experiential learning in terms of looking at things differently. So every logistics and supply chain manager will continue experimenting. If it's 12 to 14% for the government of India, it's also the same for private companies as far as logistics as a part of the total revenue is, cost base is concerned. And I think while the RFQs won't go away, you will definitely continue to have more solution-led and consultative selling, right? So I think that's what holds in store for us. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add the skill part of it. I think that's a big leap that the sector has to take to just make sure that there is an adoption of that capability and the skill set, which starts right from the operator, which is the driver, to going up to the entire organization and the value chain. I think that's going to be a very dramatic and an interesting change to see.
Well, friends, that was quite an interesting discussion. And while I can assure you this, the logistics is in for a great future. The only thing is that the people have to realize the importance of it. I mean, I always keep telling them, whatever thing you use, whatever industry the raw material gets in or finished goods that moves out is only because of transportation. So let's hope this industry gets more recognition from the end user as well. At least the government has woken up now. So I think we'll wrap up with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you to you.
And that was a great discussion. Thank you.
We are ending with the day as well as with the 17th India Digital Summit. We have a session going on the main track, so request you all to join that. Before ending, just wanted to thank all our partners: associate partner Google and MessageBird, growth partner Paytm Ads, lanyard partner Kalera, conversation media partner Bobble AI, agenda partner Disney Star, track partner TCI, digital transformation partner Accenture India, digital media partner Jagran New Media, silver partners CleverTap and AWS, bronze partners Hexawebony, Mool One, Exotel, Notify Visitors, PaySprints and True Balance, conversation partner Value First. Thank you so much.